Hello and welcome to the Positive Impact Reality Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Hadley, with my
Daryl John.
co-host, Daryl Johns. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, it's just another wonderful day up here in the Pacific Northwest. Perhaps the weather's turning, and yeah, but I love that warm weather.
Yeah, I hear you. Here in Kentucky, it's kind of cold. I think the winter's trying to hold on for a couple more weeks. We'll see what happens, though. It's in the probably 30s or 40s here. So it's a little
Is
chilly.
that right?
Yeah, it's a little chilly.
You know what? Somehow I got you mixed up with being in Florida.
Oh, right now. That'd be
Not, I mean, you're not too far geographically anyway.
Yeah, it's about a 12-hour drive, something like that. It's not too bad.
Yeah,
You-
yeah. So,
Well, today you and I discussed some of the lectures from a man named Neville Goddard. Um, for those who don't know about Neville Goddard, would you like to give a background on who he was and what he did, Daryl?
well, he was certainly a popular man, perhaps not too many in many ways, because of his belief, um, and how he brought a different point of view from the Bible. He, I guess you could say, the best way he's been described is uh, a mystic of a sort, and bringing a different perspective to the world on how to look at the Bible and even, take your belief to another level. Uh, I know for myself, it has changed the way I approach and uh, think about the Bible. And it's funny. He's he was under such scrutiny because people just could not fathom the thoughts that he brought to the world with his ideals of the Bible. And to me, uh, when I hear these multiple lectures that I've heard and read his books, I'm just like, this guy makes more sense than in most institutions or churches that I've ever attended, because I've studied the Bible over the years and had such blanks in in my mind, thinking these don't fit. This doesn't fit. And this is what I'm being told. And so I personally, he's one of my favorite authors. There's more out there that particularly plan to study here in the near future. We've already talked about one of them, and there's some others out there as well.
Right.
But I'm just super stoked that, within the last 2-ish years, that I've been able to enjoy his material, and also finding him through the channel Brian Scott. Is the reason why I bought all the books. And it just, it's funny when you go to the books, they're just like pamphlets, meaning, they're, I think, maybe 80 pages, maybe some of them. They're
Yeah.
not very long. They're just very,
Sure.
very clear cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways,
So as I understand it, Neville was a lecturer and author. He was born in 1905 in Barbados. I believe he grew up there with his family. Went into the army and got out. An interesting story he has about that too, about him being in the army and wanting to get out and go home. And so basically, he came across someone, I guess, that taught him how to interpret the Bible correctly in his own mind. And it has a lot to do with manifestation, doesn't it? He even called it the law of assumption, that it's a law that you can assume something in your imagination and it'll come to pass in reality, in our own reality. Um, and today you said we'd like to go over one of the lectures that you said that Brian Scott actually went over to in his podcast. And what was his podcast again? I'm sorry, it's the Reality Revolution.
welcome to the Reality Revolution is what
Oh, okay. That is,
which you'll see.
oh,
Yeah.
podcast. I love listening to Brian Scott, and he has such a cool voice. Like when he does his meditation series on his podcast, really cool. He goes over a lot of good information about Neville and different authors in the subject field. But today we're going to go over one of the lectures called "The Truth" with Neville Goddard. It was a radio program back in the 50s, I guess. It was an early radio program. I'm not sure where it was or how to even pin source on it, but we did listen to it, and it's really good. I liked it. What is the truth? And he quotes some of the scriptures about what the Bible says the truth is, and that it'll set you free, from one of the scriptures. Can't remember exactly which one to source, but it's in the book of John, I believe, St. John. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it really puts a perspective on some things. I do want to step back. I just want to make a little side joke that I don't know if you learned it in your culture in the area where you grew up. But assumption, they always said, "Oh, that makes you an ass out of you and me," but really, what they don't understand is, is that the assumption is that you're going for something and you put your mind to it. And thinking of that, because that always comes to my mind even to this day, that old saying. But anyhow, um moving forward, so with truth, I mean, it's a fascinating topic because it's said that you know many times people, you hear, you can't handle the truth, right? And many times we can't, because you sometimes the truth is a lie, and because it's not your truth, it's somebody else's truth. And I think that's really where things can get interesting in the world around us, is that you know someone could tell you, "Oh, that's not true. That can't be possible," and maybe you'll believe that. Then it becomes a lie. eh, Where, whereas when we think of telling telling a lie, it's just like, no, Johnny didn't steal $5, but he did, right? I mean, but it's not really the same thing, because I the one point that really hit home when I listened to this lecture is that, if and I'll put my twist on it, is that if, like to say, if a murderer came into your home and asked where your wife is, are you going to tell him where she's at? Right? No. But if you look at the context of how people treat the word lie, you're lying. But are you really? Because you're also saving somebody's life at the same time. Um, and that brings me back to, in the Old Testament. And mind you, I'm not here to preach you, but I'm just giving examples. Is that there were some spies in a city, and there was a prostitute named Rahab, and she basically helped them get out. She lied to the people who come looking for these spies that didn't belong in her city, but she helped them get away, because they were, essentially they were the Lord's workers. So I say to myself, that's a profound truth, because she was doing the right thing. But in context, it's a lie when you take it back to the way we read, um, the Ten Commandments. Uh, when we read the Ten Commandments, you see in the English version, it says, "Thou shalt not lie." But if you really dive into that, it has to be, there's a deeper context. And it's my belief that that's even a poor translation of the Ten Commandments. But there's something deeper and higher level that we ought to understand from it.
Right. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. You can't always, like you use I think even Neville used um, he used the concept of truth as, we can't, what is the truth concerning, the Bible and the scriptures. And I think what Neville was trying to say is the truth is um, that God became man, and he became man, and not just one man, Jesus, which, we know that he became, God in the flesh, but
Right.
he set his tabernacle amongst us all, not just one person. And I think that was the whole thing behind Neville's Neville's lectures, is he's trying to convince his audience that we all have a inner higher self, which we can call God or the creator. And nothing in this world was ever created without this higher self or God. And even they call Jesus. Uh, Jesus, as we are told, was helped the Father create all things, this whole world. And even there is one scripture in Proverbs who talks about that. To me, I think Jesus was a perfect thought. He was a perfect knowledge and wisdom of God. Um, and we all have that inside us. There's a Christ inside of us all. What do you think?
Oh no, I absolutely agree. For example, I've even had other religious folks say, look out there, and what do you see? And they'll say, well, that's God. And you know, and I said, yeah, you're right. And I never knew why. And maybe they never knew why, or maybe they knew something that they weren't telling me at the time. And to me, I believe that everything that is from God, universe, um, that we're all part. We are a part of that energy. We are all interconnected in some way, which is why we have all these mysterious things that happen to us um, in our everyday lives. Sometimes they're great things, sometimes they're not so great things. Um,
Right.
but as far as Jesus, Jesus, well, or the Christ is something that awakens inside of you that starts to change you. Uh, Gosh, we could go on forever on that, I think. Um, well, maybe not forever, embellishing a little bit. However, but I think it's just that when it comes to seeking truth, it's a fine line, and I think that's what's important. When even just comes to what we expose ourselves to people and media, because the our monkey mind will take it as gospel, and then we'll let it mess with our thoughts, right,
Yeah.
and get us distracted and everything else, because that part of yourself is like the simplified version, when there's still more complex
Yeah.
things going on in your life.
Right. And I know I was listening to Neville Goddard the other day, and he quoted from scripture in the Bible. It's actually Proverbs 8, the whole chapter there or whatever. It talks about wisdom and knowledge, and I think this is Christ talking by inspiration to the scribe or whatever. And if you read that whole chapter, I mean, it'll kind of sink in, and it'll kind of connect what we're trying to say here, that Christ is the wisdom and power of God. And it will actually it will reconfirm what Neville has been saying. Just a little bit of it. It just talks about how Christ was there before we were. And actually, starting at the 22nd verse, he says, "The Lord brought me forth as his first of his works before his deeds of old." He said he was formed long ages ago at the very beginning when the world came to be. Before even this world had water or, you know, the continents or whatever, and all the birds and animals and even us. So um, he implores everyone to listen to him because he is that perfect wisdom. And
Right.
yeah, we can reach that, I believe, inside us. But he gave us this gift called the Christ for a reason, and to enjoy the kingdom of heaven, I believe, and just like Neville,
Right.
enjoy his kingdom and to create things that we want in life. And I think that's what it's all about. We do that by what Neville called the law of assumption or manifestation. And what do you think about that? Do you think I'm on the right track or?
I mean, it's a lot to learn. I think that that all, gosh, it almost goes back in my mind to um his book, Feeling is a Secret, right? Because it's going back to your mind, and like you said, you're assuming the thought, and you're creating something in your mind, and the goal is to get it to the outside, which if you look at the greater scheme of things, I mean, we are already proof that that happens. The difference between us and the creator is that we got this, we got
Right.
this body, we got a cloak on us, an avatar, whatever you want to call it. um and that's our limitation. um and it also causes us to see things, and so so it's always important to what we hear and uh what we see, etc. um and yeah.
Yeah, the senses, we use our senses every day in this life to move around and gain knowledge and to do things and create things. And you know, I think Neville was on something there about
Uh-oh.
using the imagination to create. And that's his truth, is that you know that we have this ability to create things in our imaginations and to use that power if we know how to do it, and to manifest things in our lives. And whether good or bad, you know whatever you're thinking, whether good or bad, it's going to manifest into this reality. I notice, like, if I'm in a bad mood, across other people that are the same, it's like, oh man, what am I thinking here? I need to change my thought and try to think good, positive thoughts. And I can see a difference being around different people. Um, and it's a feeling way to, like, you have to feel what you're imagining, everything. If you want a better job or a promotion, you have to, see, like Neville said, see yourself shaking hands or whatever with your boss, and feel what it would be like, all your senses and your sight, just imagine what it would be like to have that promotion or raise. And that's just an example. You can do anything you want to in life, I believe, if you persist in it, like Neville said. What do you think?
Sure, I think that's the whole. It's like the mental discipline. Um, think about it. Just like if you, it's I feel like it's no different than like praying for somebody. It's the same. You want to see that person healthy, whatever, from whatever ails them. I think it's, you know, we could speak words, but we also have to think and feel them, what that person would look like, or be like, whatever the scenario is, to get them in a better place. Yeah, yeah,
So Neville, he was talking about the feeling is a secret, and actually was just
uh-huh,
that over. And he talks about the conscious and subconscious, and he kind of gives a, you know, a insight on how to do that. And why is the conscious and subconscious so important in manifestation? And I believe he's saying that, you know, your conscious is more like, um, is more of a objective kind of thing, where your subconscious is subjective to the conscious. And I know he talks a lot about, like, if you're going to do this manifestation, do it before you go to sleep, and in your dreams, and even in the book Feeling as If Teaching talks about right before you go to sleep, start thinking about what you want to manifest and go into your sleep with that every night until it hardens into fact. Quote Neville. What do you think about that? Why is it so
I
important?
think it, I think it's a preset. Um, because people wake up playing the woe is me, when they wake up, people who dread their jobs, what dread their life, whatever, and and you can have bad things going on in your life, but you can always change your perspective, and where it starts is in the mind. Go to bed, think of something good, uh, think of something uh, that will help you get through the day, because really, uh, being sad is a choice. Uh, having joy is a choice, because we already have it in us. We just have to practice what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
So to quote him, to think feelingly on any state impresses it on the subconscious. And if you're thinking, like you said, being sad, you had a rough day, and you take that to sleep with you, then the next day it's going to be even worse, right? Or it's going to be the same thing. You're going to be,
which, sure, you might dread going to the job the next day. I mean, yeah, it's very subjective you know, what you put into your mind before you go to bed.
yeah. No, I know during my study with life coaching, and we studied this thing called reticulative activative system. It's a part of our mind that I guess closely resembles the subconscious, and we do what's called affirmations, where you start out with the words "I am." So whatever you say, "I am," like I am happy, you say it over and over repetitively, it goes into this reticulative activating system, which they call RAS. And this thing, it acts like, just like he's talking about, the subconscious is going to try to um, fulfill your wish desire. And I don't know if it is the subconscious or not. I have to do some more studying, but there is scientifically, there is a thing called the RAS. It's part of our mind that it does try to create whatever we imagine in that state. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, the truth is whatever you imagine the truth to be, it's going to be a reality in this world, whether good or bad. Because I mean, so why not try to do good, positive things? Try to, like you said, transform your thoughts into, if you're having bad thoughts, transform them to good thoughts. What do you think? I think that's right.
Well, yeah, and it's all subjective to practice, because it's just like you essentially have to be working on all the time. It's like you I don't know if this is a good analogy, but it's like, you know eating good food for your body, and then you want to do it on a regular basis, and if you don't, you're just going to slip back to your old habits or your old way of thinking.
Yeah.
So it, I mean, maybe the right word to say for some people, there's an unfortunate reality to working on programming yourself all the time. But if you want to have a better life, whether you're poor or rich, you definitely have to start here,
Right.
no matter where you're at in your life.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. There comes
But
that.
I want to see everybody rich though, because I believe that we're meant to have better lives than many of us have, because we have in some way have creatively or been tricked into thinking and about our lives are bad.
Yeah.
um just looking around at mainstream things that are in our media, people are programmed to think that all the time.
Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah. So a lot of like you're talking about conditioning, and we get that from media, we get it from our parents, get it from the people in our communities, our friends, family. We're conditioned to believe certain ways, and some of them, the belief systems aren't true, and we have to use like critical thought um, to evaluate all these belief systems that we have accrued as adult, up to our adulthood. Um, and it's really going through and just deciphering what belief systems we have accrued over time, and let's think about, or study these belief systems and see which ones are really true or not. Like I could say different ones. um there's so many belief systems that I was brought up believing that, and I had to go back and kind of go over which ones, were true, which ones are false. One that I think was the biggest ones was that, all rich people who are rich are going to hell, or that was one of the biggest ones, we're taught, and I was taught in church or something like that. You should stay poor. Rich people are, they can't get in, enter the kingdom of heaven,. Which is a lie. What do you think are some belief systems?
Well, the takeaway for that, for me, Brian, is that the reason why you'll find that in some churches is because it even says in the New Testament. Of course, you caught me off guard on that one, but I do recall that it speaks about how the rich man has all these things, um, and then he has a hard time giving them up. And so that brings another thought to me, is that that's also what what we call as attachment, which is another issue. There's no sin to in that construct of being wealthy. There's nothing wrong with being rich. There's nothing wrong with having lots of things. It's all on how you perceive them. It's all how you go about it. I mean, if you're going about for some greedy gain, probably something will come of it, but that's not for me to say one way or the other.
Right.
Um, and so, and I've even heard, the love of money. You're not supposed to love money in the context of of the Bible. When you look back, no great person or figure in that book was really ever. Did you see anybody poor? That they're all wealthy men. Um, did they give up wealth? Well, sure, for various reasons, but they always had. And so to me, to think, if I go out and I start making $20,000 a month, there's no shame in that. There's no wrong in that.
Yeah.
Give it away. I can give it away. You know, um, it's really that simple. I'm not going to say, well, I'll give it all away, but I will say that giving it away is important, because here's the catch. No matter how many rich people you have in the world, you always have the poor among us.
That's right.
So So there's always somewhere your efforts can be placed, whether you're giving it in the realm of money, or you're giving it to possessions to buy the materials for whatever the need really is. Whether to pay for a hospital bill, I don't know, you know. But I say there's been, and even in my lifetime, there's been just too much negative emphasis put on what money is. But here's one little blast that maybe I'll put out there, is that the church needs money to run, so the church should never preach against the fact that wealth, because if you have a wealthy church body, you have a wealthy church. Why wouldn't you want that?
Right, right, that's right. And it doesn't make sense. But yeah, you're right. There is a good intentions in that. I think it comes from one of the belief systems where the money is the root of all evil. It has a good intention. It doesn't bring happiness and can corrupt people. But you're believing that you're sabotaging your own financial success in life, I believe. And
Right.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We have to go through these, like money doesn't grow on trees. Good intention, be intelligent in how you spend your money, but not believing that you can have what you want can sabotage you too. Stuff like that. There's so many belief systems we come,
Well, doesn't money grow on hemp?
yeah. Money, I guess, if you look at it, money like coins and paper money, it's all a symbol of, I heard it was a symbol, I forgot who said that, it was a symbol of an inner virtues that we have. It just
Yeah.
reflects your virtues. So the more virtues we have inside, the more wealth and we can attain in life. And that's what
Right.
self-development and transforming ourselves inwardly is the best way to do. Um, but yeah, there's a truth that, the truth is that we make the truth, I believe, in a certain context, whether good or evil,
Sure.
whether good or evil, whatever thoughts can be, we can create that truth. But anyways, we're getting ready to wrap it up. Would you like to go over anything else, Daryl?
No, I say I just appreciate people stopping by, taking a listen to our podcast, and I look forward to serving the community. And I wish you all health and wealth, and
Yes.
you all.
Yes, health and wealth. That's good. I would just like to say we're going to try to make this podcast global all across the world. We're going to send our podcast to everyone we can, poor, rich, whoever that can listen to this. Maybe they'll hear it and start transforming their own lives and whatever capacity they can. But I'm glad that you're all listening in, and we're going to conclude this podcast. Stay tuned for another podcast, maybe next week, as me and Daryl will go over another topic of similarity. Thank you so much.
One more thing. Let's not try. Let's do, just like you would have said.
That's right. Let's do it. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
Thanks, Daryl.
Peace
Bye-bye.
out.